Hello, folks. Welcome back. It's Chris live in central Pennsylvania on this Tuesday, the 26th of May, 2026. And listen, I've got a treat for you this morning. If you weren't waiting for this and you're surprised by this stream, I'm happy to hear that. So for those who are waiting, great to have you back with the program. Today, no doom and gloom. The world is not falling. We're not talking about home invasions or farm robberies or farm murders or, the world hating Donald Trump. Well, much of the world, but not all of us. We're not talking about that. Today, it's the Campbells are with me, which is very hard for me to say. It's so confusing to use an Anglophone name that's got Campbell's on it. And all right, so I think, Tony, you're the elder. Are you not? Did I miss it, or is it Harry's elder? Oops, your mic is on silent. Oh, it's silent again. I heard you before we went live. Now I can't hear you. That's odd. Harry, can you hear Tony?
I can't hear him at all. No, I can't hear him. He's gone dead.
Yeah, he was. Well, it was working a moment ago. We were just talking to him, and I haven't turned him off. Go ahead, Harry. While he tries to sort out his mic.
Well, I'm making a joke about him going dead, but Die Campbell's, that's why we actually changed the name when we moved to America from Die Campbell's, because D means actually the in Afrikaans. And so many people overseas, when we tour overseas, they just say, who's Die Campbell's? Why do you want to die? This band's dying. Anyway, so we changed it over to Campbell Brothers.
No, that makes a lot. That's a lot better. But some of your websites still need to be updated. I think it still says Die Campbell's, but I've never. Tony, you think it's working now, or if it's probably your earbuds? Maybe the battery died. Oh, there you are.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. It's not the best sound quality, but we can hear you now. But all right, cool. Okay. I think your earbuds just died, and are they an Apple product?
It is an Apple product, and I battled to connect them, but it was working. As you said, it was working early on, and then,
Well,
it gave way.
That's what happens when you buy into that rich white people fairy tale that Apple has a better product.
Yeah, so I was listening to what Harry said, and that's fair comment. So we actually have two websites, believe it or not. So the Campbells exist in two domains. We still exist in an Afrikaans South African domain. And we call that campbells.co.za. And that .co.za also has a YouTube channel called D Campbells. And we're very thankful. We have about 90,000 subscribers on that YouTube channel. And all the music that existed in the Afrikaans market, we've left it as it is on Spotify and on Apple Music and 200 other digital platforms. And then we've created this parallel existence under Campbell Brothers. And to be honest with you, prior to the year 2001 of us going full on into the Afrikaans market, we were known in Cape Town as Campbell Brothers. We've actually got a picture of us standing in front of a tour bus, which it was branded Campbell Brothers. And we did this through high school and through university. And we also have a Campbell Brothers website. It's just called campbellme.com, and the ME stands for Music Entertainment. So campbellme.com. And we also have a Campbell Brothers YouTube, which is more like a global appeal type audience. And we find that our audience is all over the world. Obviously D Campbell's is very orientated to South Africa. So more than 50% of the streams and the followers are there. Whereas Campbell Brothers is a global audience. So we have less than 10% in South Africa. But on YouTube, we actually have more subscribers on Campbell Brothers in 3 years than what we have on D Campbell. So we're not much more, but we have 92 or 93,000 on Campbell Brothers. So we have this dual existence at this point in time.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's pretty cool. But I remember hearing you guys talk about the Die Campbell's thing down there at King's Dominion, which was it's pretty entertaining. Maybe people thought you'd like to have some sort of black T-shirt with blood and rage all over, or something like that, like it's some sort of heavy metal band or something like that. But I could say, I don't know if you guys play heavy metal, but that's definitely not something I've heard you play. You guys have a wide range of things. Okay, so Harry, I think the youngster did a pretty good job explaining that. You're actually the elder, aren't you?
I'm the elder. He does most of the singing and the talking. I've just learnt by being the elder one, I'm wiser just to stand and have a look. And when he goes off track, then I just help him right.
Does that happen often?
No, he's normally right most of the time. So I just let him lead the way.
So I have to confess something, Tony. At King's Dominion, when I first arrived that Friday afternoon, you came walking up, and I didn't recognize you at first, and you got right up in the conversation like, who the hell is this guy? What does he want? Is this somebody I know? Is this one of the refugees? I didn't know who you were. I didn't recognize you first, even though I'd seen you guys before, because you look so serious when you're standing there. You wanted to chat with me. I was like, what does he want?
No, but I thought, let me seize the opportunity, because we get sidetracked and busy so often, and it is a social event, and everybody is sort of chatting around. You saw there were almost 700 people at a point in time, and everybody is very South African and open, and we're just talking about various things. And I had watched some of your YouTube videos that had been out there, and obviously I recognize your face. Most of the time people say they don't recognize us without the hats, so they're looking for those hats, and they're always looking for two people together, like we're joined by the hip, which of course we're not joined by the hip. Obviously not, but that's typically of what goes. So I just thought, let's take the opportunity, and I'm very thankful for the information you bring to the South African context of things, that it's an information sharing. It is quite daunting, I can imagine, for somebody looking at the refugee program and the amount of information that's out there, and misinformation as well. But just to have a community of the sense of that people know you're not alone. I remember that coming to the US the first time, and we traveled, myself and Harry were about 3 months out of sequence. At a time, his documentation was processed faster, and then mine got processed faster. But I ended up having to come 3 months before Harry, because there's limitation and expiry dates where you need to meet certain targets where you need to be. So it happened very fast once we were processed as residents, which is green card holders. And I came over, Harry came over 3 months later, and you're reliant on some sense of community. Now, in the refugee program, I think you've grown that community nice for them. For us, we had a few South African friends in the area. I knew my brother was coming 3-4 months later, which maybe makes it easier, because I think the thing that people miss the most when they move to another country in general is family. You miss your family and you miss your friends. The country itself, that's debatable on who you are and how you live and all the rest, but you're definitely going to miss your friends and family. So I would say that's the biggest thing. Sense of community. When we first came over, we lived in Texas. I found that the community was built around schools, because a lot of people are traveling in and out. And if you've got kids in schools, especially younger kids like in elementary, you have a big opportunity to meet other people and to integrate quite fast. In other areas like we live now, we decided to move to North Carolina. So we're living not far from Charlotte. But the sense of community in North Carolina, I found, is more centered around churches than what they are around the schools. So it's very different from, and people will tell you each state is different, but that's the primary where I can definitely say that's how Texas and North Carolina differs. So get involved with the community, get involved with the church, or meet people that way. This is a nice way to sort of get involved with the American way of doing things, and to learn things, and to make friends and so on.
No doubt. Let me check on something here. It doesn't look like the record button is working. It's not. I hit that earlier.
Recording in progress.
Sorry about that. Okay, so we got that solved. That's always a fail-safe in case YouTube gives me a strike and the interview ends instantaneously. I was interviewing Gary Gold a few years ago when I was given a strike for the first time, and I didn't do anything wrong. I got the video restored, but right in the middle of a live interview, the USA national rugby coach, we got cut off. YouTube just cut me dead. They don't even let you finish the thing. So anyway, I just want to make sure that's always a fail-safe, and for some reason it's not recording. Well, you've answered a couple of questions we were going to ask about Texas and now North Carolina. But Tony, you've hit on a very important point here, and that is that so many communities are formed around schools. Your kids go to school with the other kids in the neighborhood, and if they're in the same age cohort, you get to know your neighbors, sort of thing. I don't have any kids here in the house. My neighbor next to me, they're a brand newlywed couple. A couple years ago now, they had a couple infants across the street. That lady's having baby after baby. She's got like 4 little ones under the age of 4 or under the age of 5. And so they relate. And then next to them, they had 2 high schoolers that now graduated. So kids, the only one around me that doesn't have any kids in the house is my direct neighbor, who's he chats with everybody, but on the other side. But a lot of people, so I don't have anything against my neighbors. I get along with them fine. We chat occasionally. We're polite. We stand in the corner and chat occasionally. But I never go to people's houses or hang out. They never come to my house because there's no kid connection here. If that's where you're going with the school thing. And then it's not just that. You go to sports events. You go to soccer moms. You've got t-ball. You've got baseball. You've got soccer. All this stuff. People go around. And then and on top of that, if it's not that, it's your church. Normally, that's that, and you're right. North Carolina, that's a big impact. Not just there; it's the same in Pennsylvania. Here in this area, it seems to be schools, but then secondary churches. Some places the church is more important. And since I don't attend a local church, I practice my faith on my own, I don't have that either. So that's one reason why in the community that I am, that while a lot of people know me because of my role in the community, volunteering and doing things, and also running for office, I don't really hang out and have braais with any of my neighbors or the people in town. It just doesn't happen because I don't have kids in the school, although I paid for those little heathens to go to school. Man, the property taxes are killing me there, Harry. So Harry, what do you think of North Carolina? How's it going for you? You like it there better than Texas?
Well, so when we landed in Texas, I'm an outdoor type of person. I like to work on cars, work in the garage, build homes, doing construction and everything. And Texas was just too hot for us. It was either very cold or extremely hot. I died. I literally died in Texas from the heat. And I said to my wife, we can't do this. We were there for about 3 months. And then I got into my van, my Sprinter van, and I just drove for about 2 weeks. I did all the southern states. And I came to, the last stop was Charleston. And Charleston was great. There's nice people all over America. I don't want to say this place better than that place, but you need to find a place that suits you well. So I was in Charleston and still wasn't ticking the boxes. And then one of our friends from South Africa, his uncles, aunties, uncle, gave us a call and said, come over to Charlotte, North Carolina, and come for a braai. I'm going to make you a choppie and a braai broodjie. I said, oom, that means uncle. Ons is moeg. We tired. We don't know what we want to do. We are unhappy. He said, just come for a braai. Please, just come over. So we headed on to North Carolina from Charleston, and we drove over this beautiful lake on the I-77 called Lake Norman. And me and my wife, we just smiled. We were so delighted. We just knew that this was the place that we need to stop at, stay. It just felt good. And we didn't even go to the braai yet. We were still on our way to the braai. Anyway, we sat there and we met the oom, and he took us for a little bit of a tour around this area, around the lake and everything like that. And we got into our van the next day, went back to Texas, woke up the next morning, and my wife said, what are we doing here? Let's go to North Carolina. Packed it all up, and we came to North Carolina, and I will never look back. North Carolina is such a beautiful place. Got 4 seasons, nice people, really amazing people, and it feels like home. It's taken a while to adapt. That we can talk about later on. It really takes a while to adapt, to uproot your whole life from South Africa and move to a new country, a new continent, a new hemisphere, new everything. The only thing that's really common is we speak English. So, yeah.
That's also debatable. We speak American here.
Yeah, we've perfected the English language. The English have bastardized it. We fix it over here.
I love it.
So Harry, or Tony, let me get to you on this. It's interesting because when the South African refugees started coming over here, there seemed to be this pull towards Texas. I think they're watching too many reruns of Dallas and thinking Texas is like JRU. And I'm like, why do you all want to go to Texas? It's hot. Do you want to be forced to speak Spanish in most of the state? It's the weather is up and down. It's dusty. I get the appeal. A lot of it looks like the Free State. Some of it looks like the Gauteng, but in the hill country. But the reality is that it's. I mean, look, nothing wrong with Texas. I'm not slamming it, but it's not like it's super special compared to somewhere else. But as Harry alluded to, the weather in February. I had to cancel my trip in January because they had a snowstorm and ice, and the airport was shut down for 7 days. All the flights were canceled. Then I went the next week, and we had our braai. It was 95 degrees Fahrenheit. It was over 40. It was insane. Mm-hmm. So, what about you, Tony? Were you comfortable in Texas the short time you were there, or did you also get the same sort of crazy weather? And I could get out of here.
Well, first of all, remember, all South Africans want to be cowboys, so that's why we like Texas. But I think the reality is that there are a lot of South Africans there. So people sometimes just go because there's just like a starting base. What I can tell you about Texas, though, is really that saying about it's bigger in Texas, not necessarily better, bigger, but it really is bigger in Texas. The school systems are excellent. Everything works. Everything moves. The roads are impressive. So it's not a bad place to live. And also, you don't have personal tax. So I don't want to get too much into money and all of these things, but Texas has huge benefits and makes business really easy. and taxation is really low compared to other states in the country. So I really enjoyed my time in Texas thoroughly. Harry moved. I didn't move straight away with him. I said, I've got kids in the school. We're going to finish up the school because they've been absolutely fantastic, the schools that we had. We live near Dallas, just north of Dallas. And we would go once a year to the Potjie Festival in Houston, which is held at Lake Conroe. And this is a fantastic gathering of South Africans. And just so that the South Africans know that in each area of the US, there are festivals that happen every year. We met you in Virginia at the South African Brian Potjie Fest in Virginia. And that's also one of the bigger and very nice festivals in the US. So just know that you still have that attachment, that there are some South African festivals, and we attend about 4 or 5 in a year. So we get that where we mix with South Africans and we eat our boerewors and steak and our potjie and all of that stuff. We can get it all here. But Texas was, coming back to the point of Texas, I really enjoyed it. It was really hot the summers. The summer before we left, it was actually 120 degrees Fahrenheit for 3 months solid, which is 50 degrees Celsius. It didn't change. Morning, noon, and night. If you just walked to get the mail and you came back in the house, you were drenched with sweat. So it was really hot. So not nice on that. I used to joke and say Texas has 2 seasons, hot and hot as hell. There wasn't in between. But you're right, it does freeze over. Typically, there's a weekend where there's actually black ice on the road and then everything shuts down. So definitely a nice experience to go there and to live there and enjoy the Texas lifespan or lifestyle. In Houston, there's also a rugby club. So I think people gravitate towards that. That is probably why there are so many South Africans there. You see some youngsters coming over after college and joining a rugby club, or they go farm in the big farm areas of Texas and so on. So it doesn't surprise me that Texas is one of the states where more South Africans gravitate to. The weather in general, and just let us make that statement, compared to South Africa, America's weather is really inconsistent. And you could say, I would use the word unpredictable, although they have weather forecasts. But one day you could be at 10 degrees Celsius and the next day you could be at 30, 35. This is not typical for South Africa because we have this near perfect weather where it changes slowly and incrementally 1 degree a day, and it's quite predictable. So this is one of the biggest adaptations that people have to do, is to deal with this extreme weather fronts, and it rains and then it snows and then it's sunshine and all the rest of that. And most of the US is more humid than typically what we find in South Africa, except obviously along the coast of KwaZulu-Natal, you get a bit of humidity. But that humidity you pretty much get all over the US. You get some sense of humidity anyway. So I love Texas, but not for us, for the heat purpose. Yeah.
Well, the temperature stuff you're talking about, that's not normal here. That's I mean, I've lived in the United States off and on for several decades, and that's not usually how things are. There's usually consistency to it. It does change more quickly than it does in South Africa, which is pretty consistent across the board as the season change. But that's been a recent development, and last I checked, apparently Greta Thunberg and Al Gore are responsible for that. So, it's their fault. So we're just going to check into that. But cowboy, you say? You guys wanted to be cowboy. All South Africans want to be cowboys. Is that what you said?
I love it. Yeah.
That's
Cowboys is great. The one question that we probably didn't answer is why did we then choose Texas? If we knew, everybody says it's hot, but you come from South Africa and you think, wow, hot, we used to hot, we've been to Uppington, we know what it is.
But 50 and 95% humidity is a different world. I lived in that in West Africa.
Yeah, it's tough. But the reason why we chose that, besides the fact that we had some friends living in the area, if you look at the US in a map, you would notice that Dallas is pretty much dead center. So from a logistical point of view, it appears to be central. And then after also living there for nearly 2 years, we figured out that the bulk of the population, 80%, actually lives east of Texas, and quite a lot more east. So although it's centrally from a geographic point of view, because now we have to consider traveling for shows and where we're going to North Dakota, or we're going to Florida, or some is in Texas, or we're going west or whatever. So it looks like it's a good hub. But in actual fact, because most of the people and work and things happen a little bit more east, we then started looking at major airports to the east. And when Harry was traveling around, I said, just remember, I want to be within a half hour of a major airport. In other words, where the flights at least go to Europe, because we're going to go to Europe every 2 to 3 months. I'm leaving for Europe in 2 days' time going to Vienna. So I can fly from Charlotte directly to Munich, and it takes 8 hours, so a lot faster than from South Africa as well. And these are all the considerations that we had.
No, those are reasonable considerations. I'm with you on that. The only thing that I'm stuck is the Army sent me to central Pennsylvania, and I am within a half hour of an airport, about 25 minutes, but it's not a major airport. So I've always got a link. I've got to go to Charlotte, which used to be U.S. Air Hub, or to Chicago, which is United Hub, or Atlanta, which is the Delta, or Dallas, which is it's American now. So, it's a little bit, so I get it. You want to be near, because that's a big consideration. People don't think about that. You don't want to be next to an airport because you don't want to deal with that nonsense, the noise. But you want to be close enough that you, especially if you're traveling a lot, that you're not driving 2 or 3 hours to get to the airport every time, because that's each way. And when you come back, you're probably exhausted. You want to get home quickly. You want to get your stuff undone. So, yeah, no, I got you 100%. It makes all the sense in the world to me. And I understand why you guys left Texas. And I get where you're at. I've been to the Research Triangle. I've been to Chapel Hill and Charlotte, and it's a lovely area down there. The only problem I have is there's too many damn people moving down there. So, and you guys are two of them, so you're guilty. So, I mean, that's why I can't move to North Carolina.
Well, so what I noticed in Texas, and because we've been coming to the States since 2014, every year we've been coming and looking at areas, from Nashville to Florida, and we've been privileged to travel a lot of the states. And when we came to Texas, this area, Flower Mound, where we stayed, I mean, there was nice gates around houses. There was fences around houses.
Oh, you felt like you're back in South Africa. All you need was a razor wire.
Exactly. So that's what I'm trying to say here. The point is that your mindset is that you come from South Africa and you stay in a state, or you stay in some security environment. Now you start looking for that. And so we stayed in something similar to that in Texas. And when we came here to Charlotte and we started looking at houses and driving over the US, we say, but here's my house, but there's no fence. I can see my neighbor, my next neighbor, my next neighbor, my next neighbor, and the dogs run across the yards, and everything's just open, and there's no burglar bars, and there's no, the cars are open, nothing's locked, everything is just totally different. And then I think, oh my soul, now I'm going to go on tour. I'm going to leave my family at home. What's going to happen to my wife? What's going to happen to my son? What's going to happen? And with time, you just get over that insecurity, or that mindset that you have in South Africa, where things are actually safe here. It's actually okay. This is how the people in the United States live. So we just don't lock anything. Everything's just open. It's different. Yeah. And that's why we moved here. It's different.
The fences, I think, are more to keep the pets in than to keep anybody out. I think.
Correct. In fact, and if you're really advanced, you have the underground wire that shocks the bejesus out of your dog so he doesn't leave the yard.
But that was very interesting to see, the lack of burglar bars and all the rest, although everybody has security systems. Yeah. And I think that the major difference is that when we have security systems, the video or surveillance, if need be, can actually be viewed by the policing system, wherever the police is, or the cops, and action is taken, and there is actually accountability. This does not happen in Africa. So even if we had all of those in place, unfortunately, we know that when it gets to the justice being served part, it doesn't always equal justice.
Yeah, no, it can be used as evidence in a trial. Absolutely. That's so. And we actually have trials. You don't wait 27 years to be tried. We have a right to a speedy trial. It's guaranteed right there in the Constitution, which is something very different. One of the viewers, Eleanor Unger, says, I started listening to Tony and Harry's music since they started Getour and Rui Wakboki's album. Well, that's good. I remember years back meeting you guys in Meriton's Makiti Fest, is that what it's called?
Makiti Fest, yeah. Okay. Meriton Makiti Fest.
Yeah, I know Meriton. Yeah, I don't know that fest though. But Eleanor met you guys years ago, so you got a fan who's watching the show. I'm sure you got more than a few fans here. Yep. So for you guys, the intent wasn't really to talk about resettling, although that's obviously the topic here, and I think that's very useful for a lot of the viewers who are interested in the refugee program. But usually when I talk to artists, I want to talk about their career. So we'll come back to that because I think that's an apropos topic. But I want to talk a little about your careers here, because you guys have an Anglo father and an Afrikaner mother. But before we go any further, I got to ask this question. Since you all want to be cowboys, and if this is disclosing too much, you don't have to answer it. But you're married. Did you marry Bourmaisi?
Macy's.
Did you both marry? Oh, okay, all right, okay. They're real cowboys. Okay. I'm just checking. All right.
Yeah, that's part of it. Our mother is actually, the surname is Engelbrecht.
Which is
Engelbrecht,
actually German.
I've looked into it. We're 50% German.
Yep.
And 25% Dutch.
Yep.
And even though on my father's side, he's Scottish. That's where the Campbell name comes from. That's a Scottish surname. That's 25%, because even my father, who his father was from Scottish descent, actually fought in World War I and escaped. That's a whole different story. You'll probably find it very interesting. He escaped the Italians and made it back. He acted daft, like he was crazy, and managed to, after being captured, he managed to escape somewhere in Italy. Different story. But nevertheless, his mother was a Rupertsberg, which is also German. So we're probably 75% along the lines of the Afrikaner bloodline, and 25% maybe on the British side of the bloodline. And although I don't always understand the politics going back to the 1800s and the settlers, and I vaguely know the stuff, at the end of the day, when we grew up, we were in mixed median school, so we had English and Afrikaans classes, and the kids were mixed as well, predominantly English and Afrikaans. Given my age, where I matriculated in 1994, which is where that at the age of 17, I was in South Africa in 1994, and we matriculated there in a dual median school. And Harry was a year ahead of me. I was a year younger in school, so that's why I said the age of 17. Harry was a year before me. He matriculated in 1995. And we had bands going, and we were touring in Cape Town, and sometimes we had some females, girls who were part of the band, play guitars and other instruments and so on. And then, you study after school, so it becomes a little bit more challenging. For us, it was easy because we used to do our bit in the day, study, work, whatever we wanted to, and at night we'd perform. I actually remember my matric in 1994, some weeks where we actually performed 7 nights a week. We had some standing gigs. And on a Monday and a Wednesday, we used to play at a very specific dinner dance place that they wanted to bring clientele in on a Monday and Wednesday, which was slower. And a Tuesday, Thursday, we had another standing gig. Sundays, we used to play at Seagulls, which was the pizzeria out in Sea Point. It became a McDonald's later on, but we played there for years. For more than 10 years, we played on a Sunday afternoon for 3 hours. And then Fridays and Saturdays, we would just do our private events. And from that money that we got from performing as a student, you almost didn't have time to spend it. So I paid for my studies. I studied electrical engineering at Cape Technicon. So I got qualified as an electrical engineer. Harry studied electrical engineering, so more the wiring sort of stuff, and some Motomax and all of these sort of things. So we managed to educate ourselves. And then instead of actually going into the open market and take on a full-time career, we started recording. We started recording studio. And that actually took off, where we hit it lucky in Cape Town in the terms that at the age of 2019, 2021, when we were still sort of studying, we already had the studio up and running concurrently. And we did some recordings at a record label. Probably the biggest independent Afrikaans record label that the country ever had was a company called Select Music, or Select Music. Mm-hmm. And they heard some of our recordings and said, "Guys, what are you going to do?" I said, "Well, we're going to record. We tour a little bit here and there." They said, "Whatever studio time you have, we'll take all of it. Just don't even worry about it. Just do what you want to do, record, and we will take care. We'll buy all the content." So we did recordings for them for about 2 years. And in that time, the owner of the record company, which is Kwesi van Niekerk at that time, he basically said, "I'd be a fool not to sign you guys. You're gigging just about every other day. You're already a business. This is the most difficult part of getting an artist settled is getting the market ready, that they actually have something to sell, a performance of some sort." He says, "You guys are already doing that. You already have the studio. I'm going to sign you. You can make an album. You can choose whatever you want and we'll put it out in the marketplace." So we did our first album. And under the influence of my father, who was a country musician for many years, we did a country album. And I wouldn't say it shot the lights out. It sort of laid the foundation of what was to come. Later on it sold, because we had established later on, but initially it didn't sell like so many albums. But the very next one, which was the Roy Roboke album that we referenced earlier on, that was the first time we attempted an Afrikaans album, because we said, okay, well, we're in this Afrikaans sokkie, because the Afrikaans people love country music, and that's the basis of our sound anyway.
Oh, they love sokkie. They love sokkie.
Well, country is like a two-step. It's like what we have in Texas. You know, sokkie and two-step is not far apart. It's pretty much the same thing.
Very close.
So it's all in this one little box that we understand pretty good. And then we did the Roerop Bokkie album, and obviously that was the biggest selling album of that year in South Africa in 2002. A lot of people didn't know that. We actually didn't know while we were doing it, because you're so caught up in the moment. You drop an album, all of a sudden 4 months later you have a gold seller, 6 months pass, it goes to platinum, another couple of months, and you reflect back a year or two later and you're like, we just had a double platinum seller. This was like the biggest album. We did 150,000 CDs or whatever the case is. And of course, as many things, it's never over-reported on, and no big hoo-ha. We actually didn't care. We were just gigging and having fun, and it was really awesome to meet all of these people across South Africa. That was the biggest thing. I mean, you now know how social it is amongst the Afrikaans community, and not exclusively Afrikaans, because we had a lot of English people. So there's areas of South Africa, especially the Eastern Cape, where most households are mixed, like ours were. We're English mother, Afrikaans father, or vice versa. And if the Campbells came to town, everybody came. It was like everybody was included. And I tell you, these were some of the best memories that we have, is touring these small little towns, or even sometimes bigger towns in South Africa, and just having that community get together. And the fires are going, and the poikers are being made, and we start up the music, and people are dancing, and just really having a good time and a safe time. In the 25 years of doing that, I could not think back on a time that was not great and that there was an issue or a fight or a disturbance of some sorts. It was just, great experience.
Well, listen, I have to say, and I'm going to tell this to direct this to Harry, is that I think you guys have really good judgment. And for me, it was clear that you do, because the Brian Poiki Fest, you had a fantastic performance. And the reason it was a success is not just your talent, but unlike Steve Hofmeyer, you didn't force me to come up on stage and sing, which really would have ended the whole evening. And Harry, I think that you guys have good judgment, because if you'd had me singing, people would have headed for the exits. What do you think about that? Steve made me sing at Velbedock a couple years ago. You know, he gets up there. I don't know if you know the story, but I went there and I interviewed Skalkberger Sr. and then also tried to help him with his bee problem, because I'm a beekeeper. He had bees harassing his by his garage there. But anyway, so I became a guest. I went there to see Steve, but I was a guest of Skalk. Anyway, so Steve, I was out walking around, and this guy comes out of this little outbuilding where they have the wine tasting room. He goes, "Are you Mr. Chris?" I'm like, "I guess so." He's like, "Come here." I'm like, I'm going to get jumped inside this building. I walk inside the building, there's Steve, because that's where he was, getting ready. And Steve and I start chatting. The danger with that is that we could talk forever. The first time I interviewed him, we talked for 2 hours, and finally I decided to end it, because I'm like, if I don't get off here, the guy's going to think he'll never come back. And they never came back for 5 years. It took me 5 more years before I got Steve back on the program, but I was right. Anyway, so Steve and I are chatting. I could see his manager going through DTs, like, he's got to get on the stage. Come on, he's got to get ready. Anyway, so Steve went out. The next time I saw Steve was after some of the opening acts. I was recording. He started speaking Afrikaans, and he's like, "Yeah, we got a friend here, a great friend of the Boer of Afrikaners, loves South Africa. He's a great friend of ours." And he's telling that in Afrikaans. And I'm like, well, he must be talking about me. And they switched over to English. They need to see what a real soldier looks like. Get up here on stage. So I came on stage. Oh, he's just going to introduce me. And he goes, "The Battle of the Green Beret." He says, "Battle of the Green Beret, you know the words?" I'm like, "Yeah." He says, "Let's sing it." I'm like, So, Harry, it was wise of you not to give me. The only one I probably could have kept up with is the Pizza Hut song. I could have done that one, but the rest of the songs, it would have been disaster. So if I come to one of your concerts again, just make sure that you don't invite me up to sing, because it'll be a disaster, Harry.
No, I think it was very nice for you to come up and before the concert and actually speak to the South Africans there. And there was a lot of refugees there as well, and just giving them just an understanding of the program and what America can offer you and why this program exists. I think that was really special. I think what you do for the South African community and what you did at the festival and making your presence known, we are truly grateful. And the fellow South Africans there on YouTube watching this is also, I think most of them are grateful for what you do. I mean, it's your time. You do it because you love South Africa. So I won't call you to sing, but I'll definitely call you to talk. You do that well.
Well, that's very kind of you. I appreciate that. I don't sing well, that's for darn sure. I can attest to that. I wish I could. I mean, it's a heartbreaker for me because before puberty, I was in the choir at church. I had an angelic voice. And then it didn't quite get to where I couldn't sing after that. And I love to sing. It's horrible. But it's I've been banned in 4 counties in Pennsylvania from singing. That's I've already the county edict have put that out there. No, but seriously, listen. So Harry, you guys made the decision to come over, and obviously it seems like it's going well. There's I guess enough of a density to South Africa, but also you have English country music. That's you don't just do Afrikaans. So obviously you could probably do shows here in America that's geared towards an American audience. Do you ever do that? Is that part of what you guys do?
Yeah, we do. We've done a few weddings, we've done a few pub gigs, we've done a few social clubs in America. And because we had a good base of country music and golden oldies, we did a lot of golden oldies as well, we could adapt our repertoire to accommodate for the American crowd. We actually had to thin out. I think we had like 500 plus songs that we recorded over the years, and we actually had to trim it down to about 30 Afrikaans tracks that we can keep, and then we got about 75 English tracks. And the market in South Africa and the market in Europe and the market in America is very different. We figured that out as well because we go do a country show here in America, in Texas, and we go sing Amarillo, and they think, okay, some people have heard this song, other people have not heard it because it's mainly a Europe type track. So we had to really expand our repertoire and adapt for America. And it's mainly country and oldies flavored music.
So did you find? Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, maybe if I can just come in there as well. When we decided to come to the US, originally we had just thought, let's set up some touring, and we will. It's quite difficult to get the right performing visa in America. Quite expensive and quite it takes a bit of time. But we thought we'd come over and tour every year, every 6 months from South Africa. And then our lawyer advised us to say that, do you know that the procedure to get a performance visa and a residency visa is exactly the same? You can always go for the residency option, and if it doesn't work out, you don't like it, you can obviously go live somewhere else or go back. So we said, well, if the cost is the same and the procedure is just a different format, you fill in a form, you may as well do it. So we did that. And we actually forgot about it, to be quite honest, and COVID came and went. And then after COVID, she came back to us and said, guys, do you actually want to continue with this? And then we said, oh, well, now that we can tour again, we probably should. And then we managed to get the opportunity to get the green cards, because we had won this little award behind me up here. This is the SAMA award. So this is the national award. And if you have a national award, you qualify under a certain visa for the US. So it's a performance visa for the green card. So that opened a little bit of doors there. And we decided we could make the base America. And instead of being in Africa and tour America and possibly other areas of the world, we could base in America and come back and do our 2 tours to Europe a year, which we still do. We do perform in Europe. We could go back to Africa if we wanted to. We could go to Australia and all the rest. So we decided to make the US our base. But in this visa process, we had to prove a business case of how we were going to support us. And this was actually not centered around performing. Performing was part of it, but it was a small part. We actually have our record label. And what happened during COVID is digital just spiked worldwide, where people would just, things that used to stream 1,000 or 2,000, then went into the millions. So if we look at our YouTube channel, we have a number of videos that have got more than 10 million views, not 1 or 2, quite a few of them. And that started generating a reasonable amount of revenue. And we went back and presented our case to say, well, we have this YouTube channel, that YouTube channel, this on Spotify, that on Spotify and Apple Music. And this is sort of the financial return that we get on it. And with this money, we feel we can just about, support ourselves. And if we then add some gigs to it, do some shows, we can probably do that. And then that would just be the starting point. And we basically presented a strong case, and we were approved on that matter. But the point is that we actually came over with priority number 1 being the record label, being Campbell Music Entertainment. And then this music is streamed right all over the world. And what we noticed is that on YouTube works stronger in different areas of the world. And Apple Music is stronger in different areas with different songs, and the same with with like Spotify. So you had definitely have the regions where Spotify was more popular in Northern Europe and then filtered down into South Africa, whereas Apple Music is more stronger here. So depending on what you release, how you release, what platform, you have a different response. And so we have three distinctive markets that we play for. When Harry says the European market, when we go to Switzerland or Germany and we sing songs, which is very much like the soccer-orientated Boney M type of things. And when he says Amarillo, he means the Tony Christie version of "Is This the Way to Amarillo?" and not Amarillo by morning, because that would be work for the US market. So very distinctive on what the different songs and what the people like. So anyway, that's a nutshell of sort of where our head was when we came over.
No, that makes all the sense in the world. Bossy Cup said, I saw you guys during COVID at the Barnyard Silver Star. I don't know that.
That's in Krugersdorp.
Okay.
Or Krugersdorp, like they would say in Afrikaans. Krugersdorp.
Yeah, gotcha.
From Johannesburg.
So, Harry, when Tony jumped in to add to explain that, I was about to ask you something that I've been dying to ask you throughout the stream so far. If it's embarrassing, you don't have to answer, but I do notice that you have braai tongs hanging on the wall on the back. What looks like a cattle whip next to it is cord. And on the other side, either a pistol belt with ammunition or a BDSM sex toy. I'm not sure what that is.
Okay. So the braai tong is called a donkey long tong. Okay. Yeah, I was over in South Africa over Christmas time, and I saw this. There was Impala meats in Brits. They had this nice braai utensils, and it's got this thing is like 1 meter long. It's huge.
Wow, that is pretty long.
Don't burn your hands.
Yeah, and you know, here in America, they like to make bonfires, fire pits in the backyard and everything like that. And we got a lot of trees out here in North Carolina. So I bought one of these at Impala Meats in Brits in South Africa, and I brought it over at Christmas. So yeah, I'm as South African as what it gets when it comes to a braai. Now I've got the right tool. And then, yeah, that's my guitar belt. That's a Levi guitar belt with the bullets in. And then I purposely hung up behind me because we got a very special day happening the 4th of July. I especially hung my guitars up in a sequence behind me today. The red, white, and blue. And these are my original touring guitars that I've had for the past 25 years. That's my original blowbill guitar.
Okay, well, then we're going to have to talk about that. You just did say blue bulls in Afrikaans, did you not?
Yes, it
I did say blowbill.
Oh, gosh.
Okay.
No.
Well, Tony's a Stormers fan, if that makes it better. But
It does, but it doesn't take all the pain away. No, I'm just teasing. Yeah, it was funny. You guys were talking about rugby club in Houston down there. I think that's where Tony was saying earlier. But
Yes.
you know, Texas had 3 professional major league franchises. Unfortunately, they're all gone. We had the Sabercats down in Houston. We had the Austin Gilgronis, which had a different name before that. And we had the Dallas Jackals for a couple seasons. I actually flew down and attended games, interviewed players who played. So like Adrian Carlse, who's from, I think he's from Neisner. He was playing, he used to play, I think, for Western Province. He was playing for Dallas, and then he went elsewhere. But so I went down to Dallas. I flew there. I drove to Houston. Man, that is a brutal drive, especially at 3 o'clock in the morning when American Airlines doesn't get me where I'm supposed to be until 9 hours later. And then I had to pull over to a rest stop and take a little nap because I was falling asleep on the highway. You know, the road is like this and flat. You know, it's just all the way.
Yeah.
So I went down to Houston and I went to Sabercats and saw that. And that's when Henneke Meyer was the director of rugby there, the former Springbok coach. And so they had a great team, did very well. And then Danny Barrett, the USA Sevens, played for them among a lot of other players, including a lot of Redlinghuis played for them as well. But anyway, I think Marno Redlinghuis. But so they had 3 teams, but they're all gone now, which really sucks because they were popular. I mean, the Dallas team not so much, but the Austin and the Houston teams were very popular, and they were filling up the stadiums. But unfortunately, Major League Rugby kind of fell by the wayside. But so anyway, guys, the touring thing, you still do Europe and you still do South Africa tours. What have we got coming up, Tony? Anything coming up in South Africa anytime soon?
Well, we have not got any plans immediately for South Africa. One of the biggest challenges we have with traveling international is passports. So I'm not going to go into details about passports, but you have to send them in for visas. So we have to travel on a South African passport, which is a huge challenge. Even going to Europe, then we have to get a Schengen visa, which the first time they take your biometrics, the second time you can post in, which on paper is better, except when Harry posted his in a few months back, they lost the passport. And that ended up being
they lost my official passport in Germany, the German government, when I was stationed in Germany.
Okay. Well, there you go. So it happens. And luckily it came out of the woodwork, but months later. But now again, for those coming over, where it used to be a real pain to be able to apply for another passport, and it took a year or two, they now have opened up the VFS, yeah, that's right, services around the country. I think there's 7 places you can apply. So it's become a lot easier for South Africans to get passports from here. I'm going to renew my kids' passports in the next month or two, because we've been over for 4 years. So the passports are valid for 5 years at a time. So we're going to proactively do that. Well, I'm saying it's possible now. So that's a bit of a pain. So we will just focus on doing some gigs locally. We have our annual gigs that we do. We don't try to do too many. We try to do about 20 gigs a year. So 1 to 2 a month, depending on the season and how it falls. With our upcoming rugby, we are planning quite a big event as part of the South African against the All Blacks.
In Baltimore.
Which is coming to Baltimore. So we're looking at having an after party the Saturday afternoon at Checker Spot. It's a nice sort of a social hangout, quite a big function stroke pub type venue right by the stadium. And we're also talking about maybe getting together the Friday night to have a typical South African soccer, because there's quite a lot of space. So all of these things are in the network every year. Even the dates for the Braai Festival for 2027 is open, and people can go look on the website sabraaifest.com and they can book their tickets really cheap. I think that's why we have a lot of people. You're talking about $70 for a weekend, and it includes meals and your entertainment. That's really affordable for what it is. And then we have our annual Texas Poikie in Dallas that we do. We have some
Houston.
In Houston, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, when is that in Houston?
Oh, it's Labor Day weekend. So whenever Labor Day is on, which is usually like the first weekend, I think, of September, isn't it?
Yeah, it's gonna be that's when Labor Day is, but the Springboks game is on the 12th of September.
That's the week after.
Yeah.
So we'll do Houston the first week, and we'll do the rugby game the week after that. So and usually we have big rugby on the weekend of the Texas Poikie anyway. So when we're there for the weekend, we sit down, watch the rugby, soccer the one night, have a country show the next day. So it's a whole weekend activity. Lots of fishing that they have, the Poikie competition, for the kids. So really a truly South African event, and meat is sponsored, so that they're very lucky in Texas. And this was the other thing we didn't mention about Texas, but the beef is excellent. So they have good steaks, ribeyes, and there's a few South African who make products. I know that there's Angus Biltong out in Houston area, and he makes fantastic boerewors and biltong and droewors and all the rest of that. So they are spoiled in Texas in terms of what they can get. In terms of beef, I tell you, that's one thing I miss in North Carolina. It's not that we don't get beef. We do get, but it's expensive. It's probably double the price.
It's called Costco, Tony. You get everything at
Not the
Costco.
same. You're not gonna get boerewors in Costco. That's for sure. You're gonna make it yourself.
You'll get a lot of crap at Costco, that's for sure. I mean, Costco. It's if you walk out of Costco without spending a fortune, you've pulled off a trick. That's something else. Costco, BJ, Sam's Clubs, they suck you right in. Right now, of course, Costco and BJ's are hugely popular because their petrol prices are much lower than they are anywhere else. So BJ's just had a record revenue quarter for them, over $1 billion, driven by the price of petrol because they're cheaper. Yeah. So the 12th of September is that game. I take it you're going to be at the game, correct?
Well, this is the call of duty. We may not be able to, because if somebody might need to hold the fort at the venue, because if a lot of people come down, they don't have tickets, maybe we'll put the game on the TV just outside the stadium and man that. So we haven't quite decided yet.
You haven't worked that part out. No, the reason I ask is because look, there are going to be a lot of South Africans there. Obviously, now I'm not Bill Gates. I'm not eating cat food, mostly because it's expensive. But I'm not. My point is that the tickets for this game were outrageous. I bought a ticket like the highest level, like 2 rows from the top of the stadium at the end of the behind the post. I'm not even in the center, and I paid like $160 for that ticket when they came out.
Yeah.
So I will be there, and I will be there the Friday night because they never have listed the time the game is, and all the hotels are already booked up because of players. I usually stay in the Hilton, which is right next to the baseball stadium, which is right next to the football stadium. But the Hilton was the moment it was announced, the Hilton had already been booked out for the teams. So they filled the hotel up. They took you couldn't book any rooms. So I am staying at a Hilton property, but it's the Inner Harbor, so it's a little bit of a walk from there. But I'll be there Friday night, and I'll be there Saturday. The Bry Army is also coming out. No, are you familiar with the Bry Army, guys? Do you know who they are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, heard of them, man.
They bought 600 tickets. They're going to come in force. So they're going to be there. So I'm going to do like a meet and greet in between the stadiums, an informal one, just to meet with people, and maybe we can link up there. And then after, if you're doing your thing afterwards, probably come over to your event and try to get people to come over. But I know a lot of South Africans who've come over, even some of the refugees who are going to be at the game for sure. This should be epic, as long as the Springboks win. But it should be epic nonetheless. I mean, between the Bry Army, all the South Africans coming, you guys are going to be there now. That's just going to be. We've got to do some coordination on this because I think it's going to be a really, really cool day.
Yeah, absolutely. We're looking forward to it, and I think that's the thing. We'll make it festive, and I have no doubt the Springboks will win. We're unstoppable at this point in time. So,
well,
no, it's rugby. It's a game.
I'm with you, and I'm confident. But 3 1-point victories in the last World Cup did not exactly help my ulcer.
Oh, good.
Harry, you were going to jump in there.
Yeah, I was just saying that I actually brought in a old VW bus from South Africa. I actually imported it from South Africa and went to Baltimore. It was beginning of March, to go pick it up in the port there and drive it back down to North Carolina. And I actually went to go look where the stadium is located and where the venue is where we are going to do the gig. And the good news is within walking distance. It's not even far. So those people who get an Uber or stay in a hotel that's very close to the stadium, I mean, the good news is you're going to walk over to the party venue. It's really close. The venue is big. It can easily take about 800 plus people. Air conditioning, nice bars, everything is set up. So there's no reason that shouldn't be a lekker South African jewel.
No, I agree. It's probably going to be just epic. I mean, it's going to be epic on so many levels, too. And, of course, This is the last contest in the All Blacks Tour, which is in South Africa, which they haven't done for decades. But they're going to finish the last one in America, obviously for the payday, because they're making a crap load of money off this game, a lot of money, which is good. I mean, it may help. It's also, it's not just, I think they're trying to boost the interest in rugby before the World Cup that's coming up in the U.S., so I think that's why they're going to do this. You'll probably see more of these tours. The last time the Bucks were here, they played RFK in D.C. in what I call a third world stadium. We got drenched watching that game. It was Rossi's first game coaching, and the debutants kept knocking the ball on, and we lost that game. Like, why are these guys out there, man? Get them off. We want to win. We're playing Wales. We can't lose the Wales. Well, we lost the Wales. But I didn't understand Rossi's approach. He didn't care about the victory. He cared about, seasoning these players who had the talent, which made sense. But still, you always want to win. So Ross Breach said that Tony and Harry played at our wedding. I have no idea when that was, in De Hoek, Piketberg. Oh, I know Piketberg. And he says, hello, Jella.
Yeah, so I have to laugh because when I was young and if I had to call it Piketberg, the Afrikaans say Piketberg. But it's just north of Cape Town, about 100 or so kilometers. Take about an hour and a bit. De Hoek is just 10 kilometers south of Piketberg. So
I've been to both.
Okay, well, De Hoek was if my recollection is correct, they have a PPC cement manufacturing plant there, and that's why that little town area exists. So I sort of vaguely remember it, but when you do 100 plus shows a year, it's difficult to remember everything because this ends up being 2.5, 3,000 shows. So.
Yeah. So just to add on to that, before we hit it big in 2002 with Roy Rokboki, and playing sockies and going touring all over South Africa. Before that, we dominated Cape Town with dances. We did, because my dad played in a dance band and a country band. And we dominated Cape Town. We were, like Tony said, literally 7 nights a week busy. We weren't doing a dance, which was a sokkie, of a boere troue, which is Afrikaans wedding. Then we were doing a function in a pub or something like that. So, yeah, we were seasoned Afrikaans sokkie people before we even hit it big,
Well, it's funny that Tony said, Piketberg, and I said Piketberg. You're wrong, and I'm wrong. It's actually French. It's Piquet. Piquet. It comes from French. The Afrikaners, the French Huguenot came there, the name Piquet, and then of course they butchered it like they do with the G's in Afrikaans. Ronaldo.
Look, I hope we don't upset too many Afrikaners that are sensitive about that. But they definitely told me off once or twice. Say, Piketberg.
Well, the saving grace is not a lot of people live there, so we can't make too many people angry about it. No, but it's a lovely spot. I actually went up the mountain, and I visited one of my viewers up there. And saw his operation up there helping people in emergency services because police stations can't even talk to each other. So he routes all the calls, and he's a really good guy. Cares about people around the area. So, Tony, you like North Carolina. You're comfortable there.
I'm very comfortable, yeah. So I've got two kids. The one is 8. The other one is 12 years old. So we anticipated that there was going to be this big transition into the US. And for those who's going to do it, what we did with our kids, and this is maybe useful information, during the time of COVID, we anyway went online with schooling because of the whole COVID thing. But what we did is my daughter was just starting elementary school. And what we tried to do was to catch up the 4 months difference between the US and South African schools. Because remember, the US is starting in August month is where they start their schooling. And if they're August, September, October, November, or let's call it 5 months, 4 to 5 months, we only start in January. So we systematically try to bring her earlier. Difficult because it's anyway going to be a transition. Ended up in Texas, and like I said, they were fantastic. But it's taken about 4 years where she now is really doing well at school. She's we just got her back a maths result, and she ended up in the 93rd percentile for mathematics in the state of North Carolina. So that's top 10%. So that's great. But it's taken a couple of years. And I would say for everybody, remember what they don't tell you about moving to another country. Yes, you leave South Africa one day and you land the next day. But just expect it to take 2 to 5 years to really find your feet and to get used to conditions. It's never going to be South Africa. Things work different. Use the systems as what they're designed to be. So, and it will be much easier than to make some American friends, adjust, and keep your South African heritage. Enjoy your bride. Americans love the social outdoor activities as well. Culturally, it's not much different. They're riding their buckies or trucks in America. They are bigger, but their buckies are here, and people live in nice houses, and people travel by road, and they barbecue, and they watch sports. The sports are different, but you can watch rugby if you choose. So what I'm saying is that it's a similar lifestyle in many ways to South Africa, but things definitely work different. If you ask me if I like it, I love it in America. I loved it in South Africa too. We have a great nation in South Africa. I feel disappointed by the government that crime had gotten so out of hand for many South Africans. I'm really disappointed because it didn't need to be that way. There should have been opportunity for also. I would always say I'm disappointed in the leadership that has been in charge for the last 30 years. I love the country. There's fantastic weather and fantastic people. And it's the same in the US. I just think that the administration of the US is, they are better organized than what's going on in South Africa in terms of governance. So loving it here. Yeah.
Well, you don't have to wait 12 years to get your license renewed here, your driver's license. That's one nice thing.
Well, in South Africa, we actually had to renew our licenses every 2 years because we had to drive one of these Sprinter vans, and then you have to renew over and over and over again. So, yeah, but redoing the license is also not the end of the world.
So, I tell you, that was crazy coming to America. Sorry to interrupt. That I had to actually go and do my learner's license over again, and then go do my driver's license again. So anybody coming to America, you need to do that. Any South African coming to America, you need to do that over again. It's not difficult. It's easy, and the system works. There's no money is being handed over. The R200 form, we call it, the 200 Rand note. There's none of that being handed over here. Things just work the way it should be, but expect to do your license over again.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because for me, I've never had to take that test. I've lived all over the world, left the correct side of the road, the right-hand side, and then the wrong side, the left-hand side of the road, driven all over the world and lived in 16 foreign countries. And I never had to take that test. And I always tell people, I said, if you think you've got it hard adjusting to driving the other side of the road, you should do what I did in Gaborone. Every morning in the government enclave, I hopped in my SUV, my Toyota 4Runner, the V8, which they're only automatic. You can't get a standard when I bought that 20 some years ago. So it was automatic, left-hand drive. I drive to the embassy, park inside the compound. My vehicle my spot was right next to where my government vehicle was. Hop in a Land Cruiser, which is right-hand drive with a standard transmission. So go left-hand drive automatic, right-hand drive standard transmission. And I'm left-handed, so it's not comfortable for me to shift with my left hand because that's supposed to be on the steering column. So if you think you've got it hard, I've got to do that every day and not go out and have an accident. Plus, it gets just more complicated because none of the car manufacturers ever put the turn indicators and the wipers on the same side. So, you could be in South Africa and then the opposite sides and then the other side. So it's just crazy. But Ross Breek gave 140 Rand super sticker after he mentioned the wedding. Thank you for that, Ross. And then we just had another one from Bonnie Duplessis. She said, awesome interview. Thank you, Colonel. You guys make us proud. It's fun chat with these guys. I really am enjoying this conversation. We're probably going to have to end it here pretty soon, unfortunately. But guys, so I wanted to ask Harry, because Harry said he likes the outdoors. Or do you like hiking? Do you like camping? Do you like hunting? Are you interested in sites? Have you had a chance to go places like the Grand Canyon or Acadia National Park? You're in Carolina, so you're close to Smoky Mountain National Park. Harry, what have you done? I mean, you say you like the outdoors.
Meaning outdoors is my actual job that I do here in North Carolina. I'm actually into construction. So I build homes. So I need to be outside building a house from the ground up. I get a lot with a lot of trees on it. I've got to clear those trees out. And so I'm outside quite a lot building. I also stay on the lake, yes. So we got a boat, we go out on the lake, we go for days out on the lake, that type of stuff. So I don't do the hiking thing, I don't do the biking thing, I don't do a bit of hunting, sometimes some fishing. So yeah, that's what I meant by the outdoors. I need to work outdoors.
Gotcha. But look, I'm going to have to call BS on this story because I'm pretty confident that you say you're in the construction industry, but you're not an illegal immigrant. So how could you be working construction?
I actually, when I got here, I had to go study again. I've actually got a North Carolina general contracting license to actually build homes, residential homes. So, yeah, that's another thing for South Africans that come over that have license or qualifications, whether you're engineer or nurse or stuff. You're going to have to do an adaptation course. You're going to have to go study a little bit so that you can get a professional job in America. So it takes time. It's not easy.
Well, just to paint a full picture with not too much color in it. So when we were in South Africa, weekends were gigs towards the end. We actually scaled down our gigs to 100 a year. So that was pretty much every Friday.
Oh, just 100 a year. You guys are so lazy.
Yeah, a fair bit of driving. But that was roughly the formula. Look, some months, like January was our holiday month because it was quiet in South Africa. But December was busier because you got holiday resorts in between, some corporates on a Wednesday, blah, blah, blah. The target was 100 for the year. That's what we did. We used to record in between, and then even at that stage, me myself personally had led the speculation contract building of 5 houses. Harry, I think more or less the same. So we always had like a building project on the side, but we're talking about over a 20-year span period. So property is always the go-to when you want to invest some of the income that you have. So we had this always in our nature. Remember, we both studied forms of engineering. So we're working with our hands, we understand this thing. So when we came to America, we never put that behind us. So I have a little business that I run in the week, which is also engineering orientated consultant businesses. And Harry does his home construction. So when he says he's a contractor, what he does is he actually built the house from the ground up. He has subcontractors doing a lot of the physical labor. But that's a business on its own. And then on the weekends, we go gig. And then the patches in between, I'm filling in with record companies. So you would have noticed that every month we still drop a single. So last month we dropped the single of the song Pretty Woman. And in 2 days' time, we have a mashup of some popular American country song that's going to go up. That's Sweet Home Alabama mashed up with All Summer Long. So we have this on an ongoing thing. So what we've always done in our lives is we've never relied on one revenue stream, because COVID had taught us that you can lose all the gigs overnight, but then we still have a record label or a production company to carry it on. So we've followed the same philosophy in the US, where we will do gigs, we'll do the production, we'll have a record company, write songs, and then still have some work to do in the week. Like, let's call it a 9 to 5. But luckily, him running his own thing and me also running my own business is quite flexible. So if we need to travel on a Wednesday or a Thursday or come back home later or whatever, we have flexible time in that. But that can either work very good for you if you're dedicated, but it can really work bad for you if you're not. So we're all pretty dedicated to our cause, and I think that is what makes people successful at the end of the day. I'd like to consider ourselves as quite successful. It's just being dedicated to what you want, believing in it and going for it, because this, as well as South Africa, is a land of opportunity. If you put the time in, you get rewarded. Unfortunately, in South Africa, there are some laws that try to unreward people, if I can put it that way, where they try to take back, which I think is unfair in many regards, but I'm not going to discuss that. In America, it doesn't work that way. If you work and you get ahead, you enjoy the fruits of your labor, and this certainly is a country that's going to reward you if you put in the effort and the time.
Oh, 100%. That's what I've told people. I got asked these questions from the outset when it came to the refugee program. Will I be able to make it in America? I said, well, if you don't make it in America, then you're not going to make it anywhere. If you can't make it here, you can't make it anywhere. That's the bottom line.
If you get up every morning and you go work, there's no reason you can't make money in America. It's really the land of the free and land of opportunity.
Absolutely. So this question I think is interesting because it sounds like Harry is in a studio, and I think that backdrop. I don't know if I saw that in one of your music videos, but do you guys rehearse at Harry's place, or what? I mean, are you close? Do you live within a reasonable distance each other?
We live about a half an hour apart. So if you look at Charlotte on the map, we have Lake Norman straight north. Harry's in Mooresville, which is just slightly to the right. That's of Lake Norman, or the east side is probably a better description. And I'm on the west coast in a little area called Denver. So mine is more rural. I couldn't deal with the traffic of Mooresville because it's with it growing the way it has, it's quite intense. So we live about a half an hour. We don't actually get together to practice. So I've actually got a recording studio upstairs, which we've kitted out. And he comes over and we record songs. Then normally, the way we do it is he practices by himself, me by myself. But having produced the songs and worked on it, we're quite familiar with the songs. And then when we do our next gig, what we do is we set up, and when we do sound check, we actually just run through the new songs. So if it's one or two, and it takes us 10 minutes, and then we just sort of feel how the new song goes together. And that typically is our rehearsal. We don't need to rehearse Roro Boki. I can absolutely bet you that we've performed that song more than 50,000 times. We'll play it. If you woke me up on a Saturday morning hungover at 5 a.m., I'd play that song faultless, believe it or not. So the old content, not necessary. The new stuff, yes, we do.
So, Harry, I interviewed Ösch die Dritten. I don't know if you're familiar with them. That's a Swiss yodeling group. They're pretty incredible. About 6 years ago, I interviewed them. And it's Ösch die Dritten. They're from Switzerland. So the Dritten is the third generation. Is there any budding or aspiring musicians coming up for you or for Tony's family that are going to carry this to a new generation?
On my side, no. No, my son is more into hunting and fishing and biking.
Oh, he's the outdoorsman.
Yeah, he's a total American. I mean, when we came over, I think he was 14, going on 15. I'm actually so proud of him. He just graduated Friday. We just finished with his graduation, and he's the outdoor guy. And he's actually going tomorrow he's joining the Navy. He's joining the U.S. Navy. He scored very high on his ASVAB test, so I'm really proud of him. And he wants to be a helicopter pilot, so he can be outdoors in the sky and then do some gunning work. So, yeah, no music, just guns, fishing, rifles, cars, helicopters, that type of stuff. No music.
He sounds like Tony Stark, Iron Man.
I listened to my kids' performance when they were young, and lacking a little bit of pitch perfectness. So we didn't push it too much. I think my son he's 8 years old. He's actually got relatively good pitch, but he's more like an actor. He might be going into those sort of fields. It definitely is in the bloodline because my father, he's still alive. They're actually on vacation at this point in time somewhere in Asia. He is a musician, and all of his brothers were musicians. They were four. And somehow they never got together to perform as one band. They were never on the same place at the same time, but they could have. So, well, we have people who carry the torch. I could not say at this point in time, unlikely. But what I am doing in the meantime is that under our record label, we are assisting South African artists who are semi-established looking for distribution options. So this is not for developing artists because I'm not in South Africa. But we've got semi-established artists and some that are quite established, like Cordelia and Chris Els. And the latest person is Rudy Miller. So these are South African artists that I am personally helping to distribute their music. This is why I say the record company has been quite a focus in the last year. So those artists who just cannot get a good signing or a great deal at one of the major labels in the world, and there really are only three, talking about Sony and Gallo and Universal. If they don't, for whatever reason, don't manage to get a good deal there, I'm happy to help them and to get their music out because I know how difficult it is as an artist, and I do this with no cost to the artist. So we come up with just a profit share of some sort so that no money needs to go in, and obviously we do it on a case-for-case basis. So I like to think of that as my way of supporting the South African music industry still.
What about Giselle? Do you guys know Giselle?
I heard of Giselle because I think you've played some of the songs on the air.
Yeah, you've definitely then watched my channel for a while because I haven't played her much lately.
Oh yeah. I would definitely because I have the feed and obviously we have family in South Africa, so we're interested on that. I mean, when the whole program opened up, it was major news in South Africa, and we had friends and we had family that are, should we use the program or not? So I followed it quite closely for a great deal of time. So, but yeah, I've heard of Giselle, but I would say that they probably have their own means to distribute. So a lot of people have distributed. It's quite easy to get it, but some people understand the value in having we have an inside line onto a lot of the platforms, and we understand the setup and optimization. So putting it out is easy, but to actually get people to listen and to optimize all of the different artist profiles, that is quite complex. Or let's just say there are better ways of doing that, and that's where my expertise come in. We sort of know what is the best ways to get ahead, and we just go with the proof is in the pudding. You know, you look at our channel, look at the results and the millions of streams that we've gotten on various platforms, you understand that we know how to release these things digitally.
No, you're 100% correct about that. Look, I mean, it's a sensitive topic for artists, but you know, I have no musical talent. I can't sing. I can't play an instrument. I try to do percussion. I don't understand sheet music. I still don't understand it to this day. So I'm kind of lost. But I do draft lyrics and run them through AI to clean them up, make them a little bit better. And I do the AI music on Suno. And I have a distributor, and I distribute it, and it people like it, but it doesn't do well. Whereas I know somebody that's making $10,000 a month from doing covers that are altered, you know, and it's just amazing for that person. But not that I'm trying to make money, but it would be nice to get more people to listen to it. So yeah, you're right. The distribution, you got to know how to hit that thing. You got, especially in the digital world, you got to understand that stuff. If you don't, it can just linger out there. So here's a really good question for you guys, and then I'm going to put you on the spot here in a minute. I don't want to forget that, but here's a good question from Karen. She said, how'd you guys get your guitars and stuff to the USA? I have about 10 guitars and don't even want to think which one, if two, to choose to bring to the U.S., currently stored in a grandpa's handmade 1800 wardrobe. But the thing is, Karen, before they answer it, is that you're coming over as a refugee. They came with a green card, and I'm going to guess they had more in the way of resources than Karen probably has because they've been performing for many years. But how did you guys get your musical equipment over here? Did you put it in a container or what?
So it's not a straightforward answer. So my first comment to anybody coming to the US is sell everything in South Africa. Don't bring anything, as absolutely as minimal as possible. You can replace it here with things. The cost to ship things, I know people have taken containers and paid 300,000 Rand. Take that and put it towards new stuff. because just something simple like the size of a pillow and the sizes of beds are different. So bedding is not compatible. This is just a practical thing. And it goes along with a lot of things. Electrical things, it's 110 volts here, it's 220 volts here, they don't work. So get rid of it. Rather just buy new things here. When I say new, not necessarily brand new, you get second-hand stores as well and used goods things as well. And a lot of people give away things. America is generous. I'm blown away. Somebody goes on Facebook and say, I want something. You get 10 people offering things. People are reasonably generous here. So that's, first of all, don't bring it. If you have to bring it, what we did is we palletized 4 pallets. And I had some studio gear that was irreplaceable. Studio microphones, which I was probably stupid to do it the way I did, but this is what we did. We put it in pallets. I had some studio equipment that had 110 volt selectors on. You could switch voltage. We put them in pallets and we used the shipping company. I cannot remember offhand what the shipping company is, but you're allowed one tax-free, a tax-exempted import, and you have to get the right code, but you can actually import your life once into the US for absolutely free. You send. Now we were lucky because I arrived 3 months earlier, so Harry could ship it and I could receive it, and I actually brought it in through our business and filled in the paperwork, so we did ship it. If it's only a guitar, take it on the airplane with you. People fly with guitars all the time. If you have more than one, and we were stupid because we had brought over probably about 4 guitars that we kept, and we had sold in South Africa probably 20 guitars, which we had built up over the years. And I've started replacing them on this side because all of these guitars were probably manufactured in the US anyway, so you could get them here. But I understand sentimental reasons, certain paintings, certain documents you have to take with you. You're always going to have a friend or a family member that's going to travel this road again, that's going to fly, whether it's in a year or 2. So don't, I would say keep it with you, ship it with, or fly with it, and then hand it over to somebody else that's coming at a later date. And don't think, I think we're too cut and dry. I leave there now, I land here now, that's the end of it. It's not. You can always give it to somebody else who's going to travel this road. Maybe initially for the refugee program, not being able to leave immediately or go back to South Africa might provide a challenge, but you could definitely rely on somebody else maybe to bring it, or rather sell it if need be.
A guitar as well, I just want to add there, you know, if you're dealing with a Fender or Gibson or something that's collectors, that's worth a lot of money, the guitars in America in general, believe it or not, is a bit more expensive than in South Africa. So a collector's Fender or collector's Gibson, I would bring on the airplane with you as hand luggage, or a family member to bring it over. My dad came to visit me. My brother-in-laws have come to visit me. Every time someone brings a guitar over. So that's how we got our guitars over from South Africa, was on an airplane. I've got another 2-year wrapped in cling wrap that we brought over as well. So if it's just a cheapy cash converters, a banger guitar, sell it, leave it. Only bring the collectors or the sentimental guitar over.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, you know, it's. I guess I'm lucky I can't sing. I don't have musical talent. I don't have to deal with this problem. It's not a conundrum for me.
Yeah.
But one of the viewers says, Stephen said, shipping stuff to the U.S. ridiculous. Yes, it is. But it's not just U.S. It's around the world. He said his plumbing tools are worth 40,000 rand, and it's going to cost 60,000 to send them here. Well, that's like sending pets over. They're expensive too, Tony.
That's exactly what I said. Sell it there and take the money that you get for them plus the shipping money and replace it. You're going to end up the same, but then it's going to be compatible, because remember with tools, you have imperial and you have metric. So
that's
now
what I was going to say.
South Africa is metric, and here we deal with imperial. So that's part of the engineering business that I deal with as well. So tools as well. And then the voltage thing comes into the play if it needs to be charged and all the rest of that. So warranty issues, all of that sort of stuff. Sell up if you can, unless it's, you know, people have some sentimental things that they want to bring over. And what Harry said was probably quite a lot of detail, but it's quite important. 5 years ago, we used to go to Africa, South Africa, get collectible guitars and bring it here and sell them. But things have become so expensive now that it's actually now it works actually in reverse. You could now bring them from South Africa over here and get more. Whereas back in the day, 5 years back, it used to be the other way around. If you come to America and got a guitar, you would sell it for more money in South Africa. But it's not the case anymore. And it changed literally almost overnight. As the exchange rate went from what was 13, 14 up to nearly 20, when that whole period happened, it just flipped. So do a bit of research, because these guitars are all made here, and you could probably replace it unless it's sentimental value, and then it's one guitar.
Yep.
Put it
No,
in
that
there.
exchange rate will
Put it
get
in
you. You know, it wasn't all that long ago. It was 5 or 6 to 1. I remember that when I was buying petrol. That's crazy. So
Wow.
Karen says that she may just choose her 12-string Suzuki acoustic steel string. It's like a jumbo, but it has some special edition, and she won't bring her amps. Yeah, I know you can get amps over here. Your amps, you're gonna have to have a converter, so just leave them there. That makes
point,
sense. Yeah. So, okay, now I'm going to put you guys on the spot, okay? And if this is unfair, I apologize, but I'm going to do it anyway. I've been looking for someone that might be interested in, I did that tribute song to the Langton family last year I created called Alabama Heat. It's an awesome country song, and I've got Twin Falls Delight, which is for the Hotzenberger family after in Twin Falls. If you guys would be interested, I want to offer up to see if you'd like to, if you guys could want to play it or record it, Alabama Heat. I'll send you the lyrics and I'll send you a WAV file. I don't have the sheet music because you don't get that from AI, but if it's of interest, I don't want to put you on the spot. Maybe you'll be ostracized by the music community if you play a song that someone wrote on AI, but I'm just saying, if you're interested, you don't even have to answer right now, but I'll send it to you. And if you're interested, then that'd be pretty cool. But anyway, so yeah, I like the
If you have no issues with us editing it a little bit, then we'll give it a bash.
Well, look, I already know you're going to ruin it. You already make the song.
But you never know. AI, a lot of people criticize AI. I don't. I think that the general sound of an AI, unfortunately, is going to become very generic, because everybody's voice sounds the same in AI. So it's not. I don't see it as a threat for us. But in terms of workshopping and producing a song and helping to songwrite, if you can add that human element in, that's where you get the hit from. People often talk about an X factor. AI doesn't produce the X factor. The human needs to. So Alabama, that sounds like quite a catchy idea. And I'm assuming it was your idea to start off with. It wasn't AI's idea. It was probably your idea. Alabama Heat, the title.
Oh, yeah, no, it was. The title was mine, and then I would say 70% of the lyrics that wound up in the song were mine. Yep.
So, and that's typically what happens, and then you tweak it a bit, and don't worry about the rest of it. We can sort out the music and the sheet. We just take it as it comes, take it by ear.
Yeah, well, I know. I mean, because you guys did say you tailor your songs like for European market, and the same cover song you'll do in America for the U.S. market. So, yeah, no, it's anyway. I just thought you guys would be fantastic for that. You got the energy for it. It'd be great. I think you might enjoy it. So that was a banger for me. I love that song. And you're right. People are worried about the AI, but the thing about the AI is it isn't going to replace human beings. People keep saying that, but we're not going to go to concerts to watch robots perform. It isn't going to work that way. We go because the humans appeal to us. The humans have that instinctive ability to say the right thing. I mean, look at Fat Man in his concert when he was there on the Friday. When he was at King's Dominion. He would just say things that are just off the cuff that just make you laugh and entertain you. And you guys do similar things. AIs, it may get better, but it's not going to replace humans. I think people panic about it, but it definitely is a threat in some respects. But I'll tell you, it's frustrating for me because I'd love to play you guys' music, but then I'll get hit with a copyright strike. It's frustrating.
Yeah, that's unfortunately we go through a fingerprint, what they call a fingerprinting process. So it scans the internet the whole time it's scanning. So it will unfortunately block. And AI has become a big part of this copyright protection as well, because it's all automated. But I am on your page. AI is not going to replace everything in the world. I do a lot of work in the manufacturing sector, and people are concerned robots are going to come in. But when you put a robot to replace a human, who services the robot? And who changes the battery?
Exactly.
A human. So it's a different job that the human will do, which might not be as labor, let's say, difficult for a human being to do, or labor intensive. Someone has to program the robot. Somebody has to update the software, change the batteries, charge the robot, maintain. So, and it's the same with construction, the industry that Harry's in. Robots ain't going to build houses, and if they do, there's elements of it that they would use, but still a human being is needed at the end of the day. So it could go either way. If it's used responsibly, I think it would be a great tool
It's a fantastic tool. It's really a fantastic tool. If I think I want a short answer or quick answer again, but it's not a human. By no means is AI human.
Yeah, and if we had AI in the construction industry, what would all the illegal aliens be doing for work? They'd have to go home.
Well, that's a whole different debate because apparently they need to go home now to apply for a green card. Let's
Yeah,
not go there.
yeah, that's right. So just a real quick question on that, because a number of people apply for green cards when they're back home. You guys did that, right? You applied for your green card from South
Yeah.
Africa. Yep.
Yeah.
But you had a unique qualification that enhanced your ability to get it.
I think so. And I think also when you have the first, the second, the third, and the fourth, and the fifth preference, because there's a category, we fell in the first preference. I think you jump a lot of queues. Every time you process, you go ahead of this up to the second preference, if that makes sense. So it didn't really take that long. Once we had been, you can pay to expedite to get the answer, but then from that point onwards, you can get you in less than a year. It could take 6 months. In fact, I got an appointment so fast after COVID that I actually had to cancel my first appointment because we had gigs in Europe. I said, I can't be there on that day. We've got a tour plan. And my lawyer almost lost it. She was like, oh, you can't do that. We should rather move it, but you can't just cancel it. I said, well, I didn't know. I panicked. They said, no, we get it reinstated. And that was 3 months later. But the effect was when I went to have my interview, they still counted the date of approval back to my original interview, which means I didn't have 6 months to leave. Now I had less than 3 months to pack up everything and get going, get out of the country. And so it was, as what it is for most people, it's a bit hair raising and it's the unknown that you're venturing into. But just, Google is your friend. ChatGPT can help. Don't take it all as written perfection because there is some inconsistencies, but everything works out as it should. I just say, put your bread on the water and it will be as it will be.
Brilliant. So Harry, we're going to wrap it up here. I'll go with you first, and I'll come back to Tony. We'll let age go before beauty here, so you get to go first. Tony started this off. It was to talk to you guys as musicians, but he started talking about living in America and settling over here. And actually, I think that was very valuable, and we've talked about that periodically throughout the conversation because it's a lot of the folks who watch the program. I mean, a proportion of folks who watch the program are refugee aspirants that want to come over, and they don't know what to expect. Now, you guys weren't refugees. You came over here as performers with permanent residency. So if you don't mind sharing any final thoughts or certainly something about your experience coming here, expectations, patience, how you're going to make it. Any final thoughts from you, Harry, before we wrap up, and then I'll get to Tony, okay?
Yeah, I want to say it's when you land, when you decide to go from South Africa to America, it's like you're all excited, and then you get on the airplane, you land here with your 2 suitcases in the hand, and you ask yourself after 2 weeks or 3 weeks, what now? What now? What have I done? Because you're no longer on vacation anymore. It's real. You now need to get a job, get integrated into a community. It's daunting. It's scaring. Tony and myself, my wife, our families, we're pretty streetwise. We've traveled, fortunate enough to travel around the world, meet a lot of people. And for us, for myself personally, it was difficult to adapt. It was really, the first year was challenging just to get a cell phone, just to get a bank account, to get a car, it was just difficult setting up shop and driving on the other side of the road and just insurances, taxes, everything you had to figure out. So it takes about a year to adapt. The second year, it gets better. We went to go meet a lot of people at these South African events, which is very nice. I strongly suggest joining these South African events because it feels like you're at home. You're having like a Joel party. And those guys as well also said it takes 2 to 5 years to adapt and for them to be happy. So I would say to anybody coming over, take it easy. You are starting from ground zero. You're starting from scratch. There's a lot of stuff that you're going to have to do yourself. There's no help here. You do your own stuff. America doesn't give free handouts to anybody. If you work hard, you get something in return. Stay positive, and it gets better. It really does get better here. You miss South Africa, that feeling that you have of being in South Africa. They call it verlange. You're longing for that. That feeling stays there. But once you start adapting to America, that hot soreness, everything goes away, and it's better. It's good for the future, for your kids, and for yourself, and for the opportunities that's here in America. I would say to everybody out there who's coming, whether it's a green card or a refugee or anything, the Afrikaans word is vasbyt. Hold on, persevere, move forward. It gets better, and it's most definitely worth the sacrifice that you make to get here.
Oh, that's awesome, Harry. Thanks for those words. I think that's great advice for people to pay attention to, and hopefully those who do come to America can listen to your advice and adapt. So, Tony, any thoughts from you?
Oh, I have. I could have written a book, and I probably should have. But what Harry's just describing is that there's a process. It's not a flip switch, and I think I've said that more than once in the interview. Afrikaans is a word that's called aanpasbaar, of aanpasbaarheid. It means adaptability. And the person who's most adaptable wins. And it's tougher. The older you get, the less you want to adapt to things. You want to do things your way. But the reality is you're not going to be able to do it your way. You're going to have to do it the American way if you come here. So just keep that in your mind. And it often means taking five steps back, because simple things like getting car insurance is a challenge, because you're asking for it on your South African driver's license when you get here. So it's twice the price. Okay. But this is only for a 6-month period, or until you get an American driver's license. And you can't get that until you have a physical address. So in the beginning, when you're living in temporary accommodation in a hotel or an Airbnb or an apartment, like what I did for the first 6 weeks when we were here, it was tough. And then eventually we found a house to rent, but they didn't want to rent it because you didn't have a credit score. And this credit score is vital, because a lower credit score in your insurance is less. And we don't know this in South Africa, but this is just the way it works in the US. And the same with banking privileges and applying for a cell phone and getting credit for anything. You have to first prove that you are credible. So you get a secure credit card. I battled just to get a credit card, and it's not that I didn't have money, but certain things need a credit card to process certain transactions. Even if you have a debit card, it's not accepted. You need a credit card, especially for travel. This was a big headache and frustration for me. And I kept hitting my head against the same bank. And then we opened up an account for my wife at a different bank, and they had none of these restrictions in place. So shop around. In Texas alone, there are 600 different banks, or more than that, which in South Africa, we have 5. And we are so used to these very regulated and robust structure, because our banking system in South Africa is actually very good. Where in the US, it's open market, and people can do what they want and charge what they want. So shop around. If the first store closes, it doesn't mean everybody else's door is going to close. There might be just one that opens. I found that the same with purchasing a car with no credit. They wouldn't give me a credit card, but they'd sell me a $30,000 car on credit without any credit score. So that was Texas for you. So why? Nobody could say why. They just like, we just believe you'll do the right thing. But that's also because the law will come and fetch you eventually. So just what Harry said, fast-paced, stay with the thing. Things can work out. Here's opportunity. There are ways. If one door's closed, maybe someone else will open the door for you, and go with the process. It's going to take longer than what you think. I think that's the main thing. I didn't look back much. I always head forward, and I had so many things to keep me occupied, keeping the family happy and the kids in school and all the rest of that, I didn't really have too much concerns. On the other hand, my brother is here with me. So I have a family member living here, so it may be a bit easier than some of the people. And we're blessed that our parents can come over periodically, at least once a year, to come visit. So we have that, and they enjoy it here. So that makes it easier. And, with that being said, as I said, bread on the water, make it work, shoulder to the wheel, work hard, and you'll love it here as well.
Bread on the water. Bread on the water. What is this?
Yeah, you see, Afrikaans, there's a saying, gesegde. The saying says, sit your brood op die water. Put your bread on the water. Then let it go. Let's see where it takes you.
That one I don't know, but I mean, guys, I hate to inform you this and your whole entire culture of Afrikaans, but when you put bread in the water, it soaks up the water and sinks.
Maybe not always. It's good, but then
I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say smoke on the water. Okay, that one I get.
Well, maybe it sinks, and maybe you feed the fish, and maybe something else comes from that. Who knows? We don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's for feeding the fish. Anyway, guys, it's been a lekker conversation. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. I really, really appreciate both of you coming on, and it was great to finally meet you in person down there at King's Dominion. And I look forward to seeing you in Baltimore if we don't see each other ahead of time.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Chris. Much appreciated. And What a wonderful program. What a wonderful platform.
Well, thanks a lot. Appreciate that, Harry. You take care of yourself, and
Yeah.
listen. Don't let Tony mess up my song too much when I send it to you guys. Okay.
No, I'll keep a close eye on him. Thank you, Chris, for the interview, and thank you what you do for South Africans and all the information that you give us. We all appreciate it. We really appreciate it from the bottom of our heart. We thank you.
It's my pleasure, gentlemen. Bye, Donkey, for your time. Have a good day, and good luck on the construction site, because ICE is coming to a site near you soon. The people are worried about ICE coming to the World Cup venues. I think they don't need to worry about that. We don't need to chase away people from the stadiums. But anyway, guys, thanks a lot. I'll let you guys drop off here, and I'll wrap up the conversation. Okay? Take care.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, it's the Campbell brothers. I'm going to change the title of this from Die Campbells, because that's not going to work too well. Die Campbells to the Campbell brothers. Let me put them in the waiting room here, and then they can drop off on their own. Okay. There we go. All right. Well, thanks a lot, everyone. Appreciate it. So we're a little late with the news. I'll start in about 5 minutes after this one ends. So if you're tuning in for the news, just hang tight. You'll be redirected there automatically. And I'll start in just a couple minutes. I want to thank my guest. It was awesome conversation. It was really lekker. I really enjoyed it. Nice guys. I hope that you enjoyed it as well. And if you're not familiar with them, go check out their music, the Campbell Brothers on the American website and D. Campbell's on the South African. I put some links to some of their social media in the video. So there you go. All right, guys, thanks a lot. We'll see you here in just a couple minutes on my news program. Appreciate it. Be sure to hit the like button if you don't mind, and you can share this video with anybody that you like to. Cheers.